Now in this video we're going to create a couple of databases. We're going to use our cPanel. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can create MySQL databases. Now you'll probably need to do this eventually if you're going to install a script. A lot of scripts rely on MySQL databases, and so without further ado, let's go in and create a couple of them. Now we're going to get into our cPanel and we will scroll down to the database section. And we'll see a couple of different ways that we can do it. The first way we're going to do it is the long way, the icon that says MySQL Databases. We'll open that up, and we'll get the screen for creating databases. Now, there's actually two things we need to do. We need to create the database itself, and we need to create a user for the database. And then eventually we're going to have to assign that user privileges on the database. So this is the long way of doing it, and we're going to show you that. We're going to call this database test01. Although actually its full name is going to be preceded by the name of the login account over here. Now that's on this particular server I'm on. I'm on a HostGator server. Some other servers won't do that, but many servers will do that. So just keep in mind that the name you give the database may not indeed be the full name that it gets. And it's really quite as simple as just hitting create database at this point. And it's added the database. As I said, it preceded it by a name. So here's our database that we've just created. Our job isn't over yet, though. We need to create a user to go along with that database. So now that we've created the database, we're going to go down to the new users. We're also going to call our user the same name. That's not always the best idea, but in this case I'm just doing it for illustration. We're going to give him a password. And we're going to repeat the password. Make certain that you know the password. You're going to need all this information for configuring your script. And we're going to go through and create the user. And we've created the user with a fairly non-secure password. Again, this is just for demonstration purposes. I have no intention of really using this database. We're going to go back. And now we've got a database, we've got a user, we've got to join the two of them together. So we come down to this screen here, it says add user to database. And we're going to go down and pick our database. And here's the database we created. And we're going to pick our user. I did that backwards, didn't I? The user first and then the database. We're going to add the two together. And it's going to ask us what privileges we're going to give. I'm just going to give this user all of the privileges, but you want to be careful with this. Your particular script may specify which privileges the user needs, and you probably shouldn't give them any more for security purposes. Again, I'm doing this as a demonstration, so right now I'm giving this user on this database all of the various privileges that they can have. And I'm going to say make changes, and the user's been added to the database. And so now when I go back down into my list, I should see a database over here. Sorry, this one over here that I created with the user over here who I created. And so that's the first way we're going to make a database. Now we're going to go back home and show you a simpler way to make it. Because as you can see, that was a bit confusing. It even confused me because I used the same name for the user and the database name. We're going to go through the MySQL database wizard. And this will prove to be even less confusing. We're going to call this database test02. It's asking us the name of it, the next step, the username for our database, and go through the next step. What privileges do I want to give that user? I'm going to give all the privileges. The next step. And the task is completed right now. So it basically took the steps we had in the first utility and put them all together. And we're going to return right now. And if we go into our database list again, we should see our 02 database and user in here. And there they are. Okay, now another thing that we can do after we've created our databases to verify that everything went correctly is go into phpMyAdmin. If you watched the original video on the cPanel, you'll know that phpMyAdmin is a utility that allows us to manage MySQL databases, and we can see very clearly that we have our new databases, test01 and test02. They have the zeros beside them indicate there are no tables currently in the database. So if I were to click on this database, I would see that I have an empty database, no tables. I can create a table over here, although generally the tables will be created by a script that you're going to run as part of the installation for your script that needs a database. And so there you have it. Very quick, very simple. With your cPanel, you can create a number of MySQL databases. Make sure that you retain the name of the database. Make sure that you retain the password and the username for the database. And there may be other information that you need to retain as well. On certain hosts, you will just use an address of localhost for the database. Other hosts will give you an actual URL that you use for your database server, and that will be explained to you by your hosting company. But with those parameters, you'll be able to configure your script. And so that's essentially it for creating a MySQL database. It's relatively painless when you use utilities like cPanel to do it. And I thank you again for watching this video. I hope you found it somewhat useful, and we'll see you again in another one.